Hi, my name's Kelly. Welcome back. I am obsessed with sewing and am here to share my makes from the month of January. So my sewing output was actually pretty good in January. I made a lot of things. That being said, though, the first week of January I was still on holidays until the 6th, so I did have a bit more time for my sewing. And I'll run you through all of my makes. So firstly, I have this lovely piece. It's a Darling Ranges dress. So I was on a bit of a roll with this pattern in December over the Christmas holidays, and this was the last Darling Ranges dress that I made. This is a bust size 18, waist size 20. And the fabric is a Robert Kaufmann quilting cotton that I got from Spotlight stores. Again, I left out the waist ties on this dress, and I did use the view B sleeves, but the actual dress style is view A in the pattern. I found this pattern really lovely to make. It's a very, very quick sew. I think the most difficult thing about this pattern is the button placket, but the instructions are really good, and it actually makes a really simple sense the way it's constructed and comes together. So it's actually quite simple. And the buttonhole placement, hot tip for everyone, watch your buttonhole placement, because I did find between the on the bodice there are 3 buttons, and then on the skirt placket there are 5 buttons, and just the spacing between the bottom button on the bodice and the top button on the skirt, I think I might have left that a little too long, so it does have a little bit of gaping, and I would just watch my placement next time I make it. So my second make for January, I did move on to a new pattern, and it's called the Neilson Sudley. It has a couple of different view options, but you can make a top and dress version. So as a wearable toile, to see how the fit was, I decided to make a top version first, which was view A. But I did make it with the view B sleeves, and it's what I'm actually wearing today, so I will share some photos. But this is my wearable toile. The fabric is quilting cotton that I got from Spotlight, and it's in a beautiful Laura Wayne print. There was actually a new skill in this pattern for me that I have not sewn before, and it's the Peter Pan collar. I have looked at them on a number of patterns, and over the years I've seen the detachable standalone Peter Pan collars that people have made, and I've thought, oh, I would love to do that, but I never actually have. So this pattern was a really good opportunity for me to learn how they're constructed and how they come together. So I think it's really cute. The collar version on the top, it works out really, really well. So the pattern doesn't have a front or back. It can be worn either way. There is a keyhole with a tie on one side, and then on the other side with the Peter Pan collar, it just comes together quite simply at the neckline. So after a successful toile that I was quite happy with, I moved on to the dress versions, and I do find I make a lot of dresses because they're easy to wear. For me, I don't have to try and pair together a top and pants and try and find some sort of matching combination. Dresses you can just throw on and go, and you're set for your day. So I do find I make a lot of dresses, so I went straight into this version, which is my third make for January. It is a beautiful Ellie Whittaker quilting cotton that I bought on sale from Spotlight. I think it was $10 a meter, and I did buy the last of the roll. For that dress version, I left the Peter Pan collar off and just did the bias bound neckline with the keyhole. As this was my first dress version, I decided to add pockets, which means that it is not quite reversible. It needs to be worn with the keyhole at the front. For my pocket bags, I used some contrast lining. So I've popped a blue and white gingham in there just for fun. I thought it looked quite cute. Continuing on my Sudley dress roll, I have made another version again in Ellie Whittaker fabric. This one does have the Peter Pan collar, and I didn't put pockets in so that it could be worn either way, with the keyhole at the front or the back. I found on this version though, I struggled a little bit with the neckline and the collar and the keyhole all coming together. It was a little bit fiddly, but that's fine. I got it to work quite well in the end. For the first two dress versions, I didn't use the lining, which is an option in this pattern. Instead, I just used the bias facing for the neckline. The quilting cotton already has enough body, and I thought if it were lined as well, it would kind of add too much weight or heat as well when wearing that dress. So I decided not to worry about the lining. With both versions, I did wonder about the Peter Pan collar, thinking because the fabric was so bold and there's a lot going on in the fabric that maybe the collar would get a little bit lost. But I gave it a go on the second version, and I still think it looks okay. It could probably stand out a little bit more with maybe some rickrack around the edge of the Peter Pan collar, just to kind of make it pop. That would definitely be an option, just for a little bit of visual difference. Over the December break, I did make a couple of loungewear sets that were a matching top from the Darling Ranges pattern, and also some Arden, Helen's Closet Arden shorts. And they've been so comfortable. I've been wearing them a lot on the weekends or when I'm working from home. And I decided that the Arden shorts would actually be a really good pattern to make some pajama shorts from. And I do need more pajama shorts. I've only made one pair so far, but this is them. This fabric is actually a repurposed Doona cover that I purchased quite a while ago. I was a little bit disappointed when it arrived because I bought it online and the colour was a bit more of a blush pink than like a baby pink. So it's not quite what I was expecting, but happy to sew it up in pajama pants. It will be quite comfortable to wear, and I do need to make a few more versions. So my next make is a wearable toile of the Pattern Emporium Sea Change jumpsuit. I did make the play suit version, which is the shorts style. I bought this pattern over 12 months ago, and I also bought some rayon to use as a wearable toile for this pattern. So my measurements had me in a upper bust size 14, bust size 18, waist size 24, and hip size 16. I did cut a bust size 14, waist 18, and hip 16. So I purposely took a bit of a gamble there with the waist size, just knowing that from the measurements it's designed to slip over the hips, which are usually larger than the waist. Not my case. My hip and waist measurements are very, very close. This pattern didn't have the finished garment measurements though, so that's why I felt like it was a little bit of a gamble, and I thought this rayon's been in my stash for over a year. Let's just give it a crack and see if it works out. And it did. I used the fixed straps and the wide version of the fixed straps with the side ties and the mid-length in the play suit version. The neckline as well, I used the open facing hook and eye clasp on the back. So overall, I think it's an okay fit, although I'm not sure that I love the pattern. I'm not sure that it's quite my style. It would be a really lovely wear for the humidity that we have in summer. It does get quite warm here in Brisbane, so I think the style definitely suits the climate, but I'm not sure if the pattern is for me. So I am thinking on that one for now, and considering whether or not I try it again in perhaps some fabric that is a bit more me, because that's another thing that's putting me off. While that fabric is quite lovely, it's just not really my style. So I think maybe if I tried it again, I would have to get some fabric that's a bit more my style, and then maybe I would feel like I love it a little bit more than currently. My last make for January is another Megan Neilson Sudley dress, and this fabric is a repurposed or upcycled Doona cover. I actually bought that Doona cover a couple of years ago from a op shop, and it's been sitting in my stash ever since, and I've just been waiting for the right pattern to come along. Making the version with the lining actually worked out really, really well, and I found that the keyhole that's so much better. I could trim really closely to the keyhole and flip it around and understitch, and that got a much, much better finish than my bias bound facing. So I may try and do future versions with the lining rather than the bias facing, and perhaps just line the top, not the skirt, depending on what the fabric is. But that worked out really, really well, and I was very happy with it. I added a little hack to this top, which was the ruffle sleeve. So I cut about a 1/2 inch off the sleeve length, and then for the ruffles I used some pink cotton from my stash and cut a couple of 90 centimeter long rectangles that were 11 centimeters wide. I folded them in half and stitched the short sides together, and then added 2 lines of gathering stitches along the long sides of the fabric to create those ruffles. And then I did also top stitch it just to make sure that the ruffle stayed sitting as I wanted it and didn't flip up too much. Very, very happy with that. Although I did agonize over where to put more of that pink fabric, because I felt like I wanted to tie it in somewhere to make the dress look a little bit more cohesive. So I thought about making the Peter Pan collar in the pink and popping that on. I also considered adding the collar in the Doona cover fabric with a pink ruffle around it. I thought that would look really, really cute, but I was also a bit worried that it might move more towards the clown core style, which, yes, I probably tend to straddle with my outfits sometimes, but I thought it might be a bit too much, so I didn't do that. But I also thought some little patch pockets with pink ruffle on them or around the edges would also look really, really cute as well. Because the pink fabric was from my stash, it had actually been washed with something that was blue, and so a bit of dye had like transferred into the pink fabric, and there's these faint blue patches through it. So what I'm going to do is try and soak that and see if I can remove the blue dye, and then possibly do the patch pockets. We'll see. I'm still thinking about that one. That's all of my makes for January. I've actually done a lot of sewing from the looks of things, but the patterns that I really enjoy making are actually not too complicated and very, very quick sews. So it's easy for me to spend my time on the weekends putting them together and sewing these dresses and outfits. If they were more complicated patterns, my sewing output would be less. But for January, they were quite simple patterns that came together really, really well, and I had a lot of fun sewing them. Thanks so much for joining me. That's all of my makes for January, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye.